Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we are discussing a model launched in 2018 in 100 pieces in white gold. This is the Lange Söhne triple split, technically part of the Saxonia collection. This watch picks up the torch from the previous 2004 double split. That was a breakthrough in its day. This was a bigger breakthrough, and I'm going to compare both of them on screen here. The watch, of course, in white gold with a lovely sterling silver dial, galvanized this anthracite color, is the same diameter as the double split, which again came out in 2004. So they're both 43.2 millimeters in diameter. Both of them are from Lug-to-Lug, 51.5 millimeters, and that's broad, but not huge. Now, here's where things become a little bit confusing, because Lange claims that there's less than half a millimeter's difference between the thickness of the old double split and the thickness of the triple split. I'm going to tell you, I measured them both with a caliper right here, and with that caliper calibrated, both of them measure exactly 16 millimeters thick. So these watches, in dimensional terms, are indistinguishable. By the way, you can see that the double split right here on the left is platinum, and the triple split on the right is white gold. And you can really see the difference, the warmth of the white gold compared to the blinding white silver of the platinum. So there is a tonal difference when they're side by side, but there is no dimensional difference at all. Now, taking a look between the lugs, you can see that the spacing remains 22 millimeters. The watch is substantial, though not as hefty as the platinum double split. I'll throw this watch on my wrist now. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference, and you can see it's big. I wouldn't recommend it for a wrist smaller than 15 centimeters circumference. That wrist is going to be at the borderline of what's possible here, because the watch is thick, it is heavy, and it is broad, but it's not so broad that you couldn't wear it on a 15 centimeter circumference wrist. And the further you get from the camera, the more it looks proportionally appropriate for my wrist, so it doesn't look quite as bulky as it does when I get close hauled to the camera. Now, taking a quick look at the hardware and the software, you can see that we enjoy a substantial matte finished black large rectangular scale alligator leather strap with some bolstering to add volume. There is a folded edge on the underside. You can see there is calfskin, and it is a Lange Söhne factory strap. We have a timepiece. It is equipped with a substantial and trigger-released clasp here. This is something rarely seen on a Lange watch. They're usually on pin buckles, even complications. Those deployant clasps that they offer are normally snap fit. It is very rare to see one fit with a trigger release system. That's for extra security. That's like something you'll see on the Lange 31, and you will note that it is polished and then frosted internally. Externally, it's all of high polish, and it is a weighty thing. I've held ultra-thin watches that are less massive than this clasp. Rolling over to the case, you can see it is a very traditional Lange design, rounded, domed bezel, polished domed bezel with a little vertical portion on its side. The case band has a longitudinal satin finish. You can see that there is beveling and polish around the edge of the trigger for the split second, split minute, split hour, but it's satinated on its outer face. The lugs are stepped out from the case. You can see there's a little crease in between them, a bit of a knuckle where they separate, and then the lugs are all of high polish. The watch does include a remarkably charming and surprisingly colorful dial. The dial is made of sterling silver. The base itself is AG 925 sterling silver. And then there's this lovely dark rhodium-like coloration, a sort of nickel anthracite metallic. It's a soft, sort of matte finish. There is no sunburst, but we have concentric graining within the bare silver sub-registers, and you can see they're slightly sunken into the dial. The hours are visible up at 12 o'clock, and then the power reserve indicator has moved down to 6 o'clock. Now, a few thoughts here. Compared to the original double split, which I have here, you could see that the double split, which could split minutes and seconds, it featured its power reserve up at 12 o'clock, and it did not include an hours register. So not only do we get the ability to split seconds, minutes, and hours, but we actually get the hours display itself. The watch also features white gold primary hands. There is lume. It is a surprisingly sporty watch. And then we have white gold indices as well, and these stick-style indices marking this as part of the Saxonia family. There's a tachymeter outboard, base 1,000 meters for gauging the speed of things moving very quickly in kilometers per hour. And you can see that the lume of the watch makes it, again, surprisingly visible at night for a dress complication. Here you can sort of see what the watch does, and you can see it to advantage. The timepiece is able to split its seconds, split its minutes, and though you can't quite see it, they're starting to separate. There are 2 hour hands. So for example, you could time with a regular split seconds chronograph the difference between 2 events up to 60 seconds. With the double split, you can time the difference between 2 events up to 30 minutes. With the triple split, you can time the difference between 2 events up to 12 hours total duration. So that's what this watch does. And again, these watches are identically sized. Even the thickness, as I measure it, is identical. By the way, take a look at the double split. You can see it does not have the trigger actuated deploying clasp, and this one in platinum is just as heavy, if not heavier, than this triple split. So you can see there have been changes to the specification of the clasp used on these Lange poly chronographs. Now, taking a quick look at the dial, you can see it has a wonderful dished profile. There is a great depth here. When I turn the watch over, you can also see that the movement is outstanding. The movement is a standout, caliber L132. One of the changes compared to the double split is that the double split has a 38-hour power reserve. This has a 55-hour manual wind power reserve. It does include 2 column wheels. You could see them indexing. One is sort of at the top of the screen. You can see it right next to my finger. The other is a little bit lower. The lateral clutch system is made of steel. All the chronograph levers, horns, the yoke, the springs, they're all in steel. So you can see the German silver bridges and plates are golden hued because of their copper content. And then all the chronograph components, those are in steel. So they're beveled on their side and then they're satinated on their top. If you look closely, you can see that there are even interior and sharp exterior angles just on the yoke itself, and it's very difficult to do that in nickel, copper, zinc, German silver, or in brass. To do it on steel takes virtuosity. As I move the watch through the light, you can see that many of the components are specular finished or black polished to a mirrored shine. The watch does include instantaneous jumping of minutes and a decoupler system for the Rattrapante, so when you actually stop the split mechanism, you don't have dragging, which can cost you 30 to 50 degrees of balance amplitude in a conventional split seconds chronograph. It does feature an overcoil hairspring. It does feature 5-position adjustment. It does beat away at a surprisingly high 21,600 vibrations per hour, which is not common to all Lange chronos. Some of them are 18K. This one is 21.6, and it is a 46 jewel movement with tremendous depth to it. You can really see, I'll do my best to show you, but Lange finishing is among the best in the industry, and it does include a stop seconds function if you want it, plus the power reserve indicator. There's freehand engraving, though you can see a lot of it's hidden underneath the bridges, and then we have a combination of black polished and fire blued screws. We have both of them, plus jewels set in chaton and fixed in place by blued screws. So this is a spectacular watch, aesthetically as well as mechanically, with a lot to love. It wears exactly the same as the double split, so if you've worn that and it fits, full speed ahead. This watch is going to be an outstanding choice, an outstanding fit, and an extraordinarily rare piece, as there have only been 2 limited editions of this watch in the last 3 years, and those are the only ones manufactured. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. By the way, fun fact, the movement has 567 parts.